We begin this hour with breaking news on the coronavirus outbreak. Our reporters are standing by to bring you the latest information. But first, 21 people stranded on a cruise ship off California have tested positive for the disease. There are Australians on board. Victoria has just recorded its 11th virus case, taking the total number of infections on home soil to 65. Overnight, Queensland identified a 14th infection, a Brisbane man who had recently returned from Iran. In New South Wales, extreme measures are being considered to keep schools open after 3 new cases were reported on Friday. Well, let's go live now to our reporters for more details on this. First to Julia Bradley on the developing situation on board the Grand Princess cruise ship. Julia, there are fears Australians could be among those infected.
Well, that's right, Charlotte. There are more than 3,000 people on board the Grand Princess cruise ship off the coast of California. 46 people were tested for coronavirus. Of that group, 21 tested positive. That's 19 crew members and 2 passengers. It's understood that 4 Australians are on that cruise ship, but it's uncertain at this stage whether any of them have contracted coronavirus, and we will be getting confirmation on that shortly. Here's an update from President Donald Trump.
They would like to have the people come off. I'd rather have the people stay, but I'd go with them. I told them to make the final decision. I would rather, because I like the numbers being where they are. I don't need to have the numbers double because of one ship.
Well, the Grand Princess, it's done 2 tours. Now, it's understood that the coronavirus outbreak is linked to that first tour. An elderly man, a 71-year-old California man who contracted the virus a month ago but died on Wednesday. Now, that death, it was the first fatality outside of Washington state, and it really highlights just how susceptible some of our elderly population are to this virus, especially when they have underlying health conditions.
We know many of the people on the cruise ship are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and we want to make sure, as we know, that that's a more vulnerable group, that we pay special attention to anybody who has any comorbidities or other conditions. And so we're working very hard with the people on the ship and the medical team there to make sure that their health and welfare is prioritized.
Now, the outbreak has already killed 14 people in the United States. President Trump has just signed off on an emergency aid bill, a multi-billion-dollar bill, in order to combat this outbreak. And it's understood that the Grand Princess will now be moved to a non-commercial port this weekend. And anyone that does need further medical attention or needs to be quarantined will be, Charlotte.
Yeah, pretty scary situation in the United States, but also back here on home soil. Let's go live now to Gabriella Power in Melbourne. Gabriella, a doctor has just become the Victoria's 11th case of the disease.
That's right, Charlotte. A doctor in his 70s is now in isolation at home after testing positive to COVID-19. He'd recently spent a bit of time in the United States. He spent about 12 days in Colorado before returning to Melbourne via San Francisco. He worked at the Toorak Clinic and also attended an aged care facility in Malvern. Now, it's understood he consulted about 70 patients last week. So authorities are now getting in contact with every one of those patients. They will now be required to self-isolate at home for at least 14 days, and the Toorak Clinic where he worked has been closed. Now, Health Minister Jenny Mikakos provided an update a short time ago, and she says that 4 new clinics have been opened to test for COVID-19.
As of today, a number of screening clinics are now operational. So there are now 4 clinics, the Royal Melbourne Hospital, the Alfred and the Austin, have screening clinics that have opened this morning, and Box Hill Hospital will have its screening clinic open later today.
Charlotte, it comes as schools prepare to go online to try and stop the spread of coronavirus. New South Wales is preparing to have its education system go online after a school had to shut down yesterday after a student contracted COVID-19. The New South Wales Education Minister has ordered her department to implement the technology so students can study from home. So this technology would include live streaming, online chat forums and online classes for both for both primary schools and high schools.